you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I, this whole thing is sort of migrated so that, I had all those initial conversations. Of course, you were a fairly early one. And then now with the Discord, get to sort of kind of maintain a little bit via the Discord, even though I'm not on it as much as some others. I lurk more than I post. I really do, because it's fun.
Me too.
I get a lot out of seeing what you guys are interested in and talking about, and I also just get a lot of fun out of just the fun of the community of it. So
yeah, it's a really good place. Just even I don't have time like every day, but even having like a small interaction every day, just having a few words with someone, can make your day. Making a joke or seeing something interesting or an interesting link or video or whatever, and it's like it keeps you in touch with other people as well who are interested in the same things.
Yeah.
And that's well, I guess it's the case for so many of us, and we never had that space, or at least not being in contact with as many people who are interested in the same thing. So yeah, it's good. Check in every day. Yeah.
So how have you been?
I'm doing quite well. Like I said, I was reflecting on the last year since we had a conversation, I believe like 14 or 15 months ago.
Yeah.
And I was thinking like, well, I did make quite some progress if I can pat myself on the back in the last year. So because those years, those 1 or 2 years before, was mostly Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
And he obviously went away. So then you had to figure it out by yourself.
Yeah.
And mostly looking at other stuff, different people, your channel obviously, and Jonathan Peugeot's channel, things like that. What I did notice was like a huge weight was lifted off my shoulders when we had our conversation, that I finally, like, out in the open said like, okay, I don't believe yet, but I'm at least interested in God and religion. And that allowed me to give myself some breathing space to also dive into those things. Like before, I was very, very apprehensive. Like I was really interested in what Jordan was doing with the Bible series, but like the rest of it, I didn't really want to look at. I didn't really want to touch. And then after we had our conversations, and obviously with the Discord, it all changed. And I still don't. I'm not sure if I believe yet, but at least I'm definitely heading in that direction.
Yeah.
Like I noticed my mind shift. My mindset has shifted, and the way I look at things and the way I think about things. I couldn't have imagined it like a year ago. Like the things I'm interested in right now, and the things that at least I need to want to believe. And well, obviously, having conversations with Job on the Discord, or Shelly, or whoever on the Discord, it helps to sometimes there's things you run into, things you're struggling with, and you post something quick and people respond, and it's like, okay, if I look at it this way, or if I do it like that, perhaps I can actually get past this issue. And it's like I said, it's really been helpful. So like I said, I still don't believe, but well, it isn't far away anymore. So but it's so strange, because when you've been so anti-religion for like 20 years, and then to make such a radical shift in such a short amount of time, it's sometimes it's quite difficult to comprehend, even for yourself, and it's actually kind of scary sometimes as well, because I remember like a moment of like a few weeks after we had our conversation, and I said to myself like, is this it? Did I really finally lose it? Like I turned to religion now. Am I going crazy? Like seriously? And and no, I didn't feel like I was going crazy. Well, I felt pretty sane still. So didn't think about it anymore, and just went with whatever. So it's, yeah, like I said, it's been strange, but it's also been good. But like the one thing I did want to talk with you about is, and something you've mentioned as well, is like, as a person, you are your friends and you are your family as well. You're not just an individual. And being the only one in my family who's even interested in this stuff, and being the only one, with my colleagues at work and my friends, it's like I'm still being pulled back, and I haven't told anyone yet, let's say, so I'm still in the closet in that sense. But it's still, I'm still struggling with, I really want to believe and I really want to do this, but I'm still being held back by my family, and by not. I think I'm more being held back by myself with the idea of my family, instead of really being held back by my family. But
Sure.
it's still that struggle I'm dealing with. And yeah, that's also difficult, because I think that's also, yeah, holding me back in finally making a final step.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
Well,
been
it's so funny how in the closet, obviously came into the culture in wide usage with the whole gay issue. The dynamics of that process can be seen through many kinds of transformations. And I think the closet in that sense is the understanding that for you to come out with certain people means you lose status. And that's a sacrifice, and it's a real legitimate sacrifice. And so it's a real thing, and it's part of the reason why community, I mean, on the Discord, what's so lovely about that community is that there are other people who are in similar situations. But like, Job, I mean, I had this conversation with Job a year plus ago, and poor Job was just really struggling with, but he was, he and everybody's life situation is different. Everybody has to navigate this everybody has to make their own decisions, and it's exactly how it's supposed to be, that you are in charge of this. Okay, that it's up to you what to do with this, and that's exactly right. So what's fun about the Discord is just that there's lots of different people with lots of different closets and lots of different processes and communities that they're navigating.
Yeah. Still need to figure that one out. That's probably gonna take some more time, and
which is fine.
Yeah. Not blaming myself or anything. And it's the same thing with going to church. I haven't been going to church or anything. Like, I am reading the Bible like fairly consistently. But there's also, well, I spoke about it on the Discord like recently with Job, and we do have a number of churches here in the area. It's like, well, it's church villages. So, well, when my dad died, like I explained last time, is we had the ceremony and the funeral at the Catholic church here in the city center. So every time I see that building, I want to keep away from it. I don't even want to look at pictures from it. So it's like, it's more the trauma that's keeping me from actually going than the fear of going to church. So, and it's not so much that the church scares me, but it's more like the place itself. And I still need to make I still need to figure some things out before I can enter a building. And so Job was kind enough to invite me to go to church with him. So so that's also always a possibility. Then at least I don't have to go alone.
Yeah.
And then you're not dealing with that issue by yourself. But and that can also help, like moving things along. But
how far away do you live from him?
About 90 minutes, I think.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, when you live in the Netherlands, it's like the opposite
Yeah,
side of the
I
country.
was thinking Netherlands isn't that big compared to someplace like California.
No, not at
You
all,
know.
not at all. So yeah, I live like in exactly the middle of everything where I live. So it's a 5-minute bicycle ride to pretty much everything, to the city center, to the station, to the gym, whatever. So 90 minutes sounds like a real lot when you have to go somewhere, but it's not a big of a deal. But anyway, but yeah, things like that still like being the feeling that with friends and family, and also not going to church. It's like perhaps I do need some time to figure those things out before I can finally make that step. But
Yeah.
at least I've been reading the Bible, which, well, I did read the Gospels like last time we had a conversation, and I didn't really understand them at the time, so I read them anyway. But yeah, it didn't make a whole lot of sense. And now I'm reading the Gospels again. I started all over, and just reading a verse a day and really trying to understand the message, or what they mean with it. And also, yeah, looking up videos like, what's the meaning of this parable? I don't know. And it helps me understand things, but it does take a lot of time in that sense. I'm going through it really, really slowly. But yeah, that's also something that I feel I need to keep doing. And because a few months ago I did have like a period where I didn't watch your videos, didn't read the Bible, didn't do anything, didn't pray, didn't do nothing. And I felt like I was going back to my old habits as well, like at the same time. And I reminded myself, okay, at least do something small. Just watch 10 minutes of a video. I know that takes like 30 days to finish your videos, but at least create a small mini habit and get back into that rhythm. And like I am praying, not consistently, but also doing that, and like reading a verse a day and doing the small things, at least to keep me in that space. And then I notice, like, after a while, it piques my interest again, and I really want to keep doing it, and then I can keep doing more and more, and then also the feeling gets stronger and stronger. So now I figured out, okay, if I do this, then I can stay on the path. But and that's one of the things I've been praying about. Like I don't know what I'm doing at all when I pray, but it's like I ask God for strength and for the will to stay on the path, and to ask for forgiveness for the things I did wrong, and I'm probably still gonna do wrong in the future. And it sounds so silly when you're actually talking out loud to yourself like that. But what I noticed is that for this especially the last few months, is that I'm actually quite disciplined, and I do the things I want to do, and I keep wanting to do them. And so I don't know, is he helping me, is he guiding me? Like those are the kind of thoughts that pop into my mind right now.
Yeah.
Where they didn't before, obviously.
Yeah.
And that's one of those major changes where everybody always wants to get disciplined and do a lot of things, and
Yeah.
nobody's able to, because
Yeah.
you always want to move mountains in a single day.
Yeah.
And obviously I also have never been able to do that, but now in these past few months that I've been consistent with reading the Bible and praying, well, semi-consistently, but I've been managing to do a lot I wasn't able to do before.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then thinking, oh, well, like, is God guiding me? That's freaking me out sometimes.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And then, so a few days ago I read, I'm still reading Matthew at the moment, but it's like, if it was chapter 10, I believe. There's this piece at the end of the chapter where it isn't really inviting. I believe I have it somewhere.
Come to me, all you who are.
It says, anyone who loves their father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Anyone who loves their
That
son or daughter more
passage.
than me. Yeah, so I was reading that. I think also for someone who is really wanting to get into God and religion, this doesn't really sound very inviting to me.
No.
And then like and I really have to think about it, because the love you have for your family or your friends, it's like,
yeah.
so there's supposed to be someone, or God in this case, you have to love even more. What does that even
What does
supposed to
that
mean?
mean? That's
Yeah.
right. And aren't you in also some ways, when you're loving your father and your mother and your sibling and your neighbor, aren't you in that way also loving God at the same time? So yeah, it's figuring out, well, Jesus, what do you mean?
Yeah,
Well, Jesus is
exactly.
just so full of that. Says those kinds of things, and everybody sets back, and you get the sense that this directness that we assume is the path to well-being. Okay, their directness has its place, directness has its strength, but then Jesus is demonstrating, well, there's indirectness too, by saying something that sounds absolutely crazy, but then as you continue to ponder it and go deeper into what he's saying, because you can't, it could be that you can't get to where he's taking you directly, which is why he takes you through this other way. So anyway, it's Jesus is the master of that.
Yeah. So I read those few lines like 4 or 5 times, and I'm like, wait. So what do I do now?
Yeah.
Like, I'm really trying to understand that. Like,
well, that's where you miss, a church, a pastor, a community, these kinds of things, because that's exactly what, and I think that's part of the reason Jesus has these things, because when Jesus does something like this, we quickly realize me as an individual is too shallow a pond, too shallow a pool to afford everything he would like to give me. So something like that just drives you into other people, and yeah, there'll be lots of bad ideas and things that are wrong and okay, but it begins a process by which other things are going to come.
Yeah, that's what Job does, that church podcast in Dutch, and I believe it was his pastor who was on, but they spoke about how to read the Bible, and it was also his advice, like, do it with a group and do it with a few people, and you can help each other out. And yeah, that's definitely something I'm missing, and in a lot of ways, not only with reading this stuff, but also talking about it. Like, the Discord is helpful, definitely, but it's only helpful like to a degree.
Right.
I can spam full the Discord, but it's still, there's only so many people who will reply and who will reply constantly, and that's all fine. That doesn't matter. But like, having someone to talk to just semi-regularly in person, that would be tremendously helpful. So that's also one of the ways I still have to figure out what to do. But at least I know I have to do it. So that's always the first step. So yeah, those are a few of the things I'm still working through. What I initially said in my message is I wanted to talk about stories, because I've also watched those videos from stories of old.
Yeah, he's a Dutchman.
Yeah, he has a weird accent. I think
he does
he's
have
from
a weird accent.
yeah.
I first heard it and I thought, what kind of accent is that? And then I thought, is that a Dutch accent? That's a strange
it might
Dutch
actually be
accent.
Frisian or something.
Oh no!
Yeah. Yeah, I believe so. I believe, by the way he speaks, he's either from the north of the northeast, somewhere like that. They have
Oh,
a
my
very peculiar
ancestry
way of
coming back to haunt me.
Yeah, like, he does make really good videos.
He
Like,
does. He makes excellent videos.
yeah, but I did like the first one, but I didn't like very much like the second one, especially at the end when you get this feeling like there's some, yeah, perhaps it's just me, but it feels like there's some nihilism coming through as well.
No, it's not just you.
No.
That is, you are picking up exactly what's there.
Yeah, it's like they say about Dutch people that we're very sober, very measured, but I think we're more pessimistic, really, and I can feel that he is pessimistic as well.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
not in all cases, but at least when he spoke about this subject, and I do think he makes some valid points, but I also think what people's lives are stories. It's just a matter of perspective, like which lens are you looking through, and but people's lives are not only stories. Like it's a part of their lives, and there are a multitude of stories. It's like it's not one big narrative, perhaps at the end, but it's like a subset of stories. So like you have a YouTube channel full of stories, and then they're not just stories. Like firstly, they matter, and the stories matter to you and to the person who's telling the story and to the viewers. But it is also a hero's journey for most of the people, because they faced the people who tell the story, they faced their demons, they faced the monsters on every single day, every moment of their life, and they have conquered them in a large number of cases. It's not just like they're battling their demons, but they've overcome the depression or the anxiety, the addiction, whatever. And it's like, how can you, how don't you see that? I really have a hard time understanding why. I mean, yes, we're not battling demons with a flaming sword or anything, but it's like it's a metaphor, and a story is as well. Like it's an accumulation of all archetypes, of all archetypal stories, of all archetypal events, and crunched into a single story. And it's yeah, like it's, if you look at the Lord of the Rings, and you would really imagine that you're like, say, Frodo, and you're living in that moment, and you're crossing Mount Caradhras, or you're going into Mordor. It's not like they're experiencing that they're in the story. They're just doing the things they need to do.
Right.
And it's one of my friends on the Discord, she pointed that out to me, actually. It's like somewhere, I don't know if it's the end of Two Towers or somewhere in The Return of the King, but it's like, it's a very meta scene where Sam is wondering if they'll actually write and sing stories about them.
It's the end of the Two Towers in the extended edition that really has that full scene by Sam.
Yeah, in the movies, but it's
in the
also
movies,
in the books.
right? In the movies.
Yeah. So I recently, I listened to the audiobooks, because I watched those movies like 50 times already. But yeah, my friend, she sent me a link, and it's a guy who does like all voice impressions, and he does sound effects, and he uses the music from the videos. So it's really, really cool. So I was listening to that, and then I read the books when I was 12 or 13, like when the movies came out, and they're so different.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, and I didn't really like them at the time, because it takes some time to get into them as well, and the way of Tolkien's writing, and in the beginning there's a lot of songs involved as well, and you're like, I want to skip those, I want to go to the action scenes. But so I listened to them recently, and I think, wow, they're so incredibly good, and on so many different levels.
Yeah.
Like it's ridiculous. Yeah, it's really ridiculous how good they are.
Yeah.
And it's so many themes come back into them as well.
Yeah.
And that's also helpful with your videos and the ones I listen to from Jonathan Pajot, is you see things coming back, the Jesus archetype in Frodo and Gandalf and Aragorn, and that's a theme I've been seeing in, well, actually in a lot of things I've been watching and reading. It's like it's everywhere, and that's also one of the things I'm wondering about. It's like, well, that's what Tom Holland's book has been really helpful. It's like it's everywhere, that we're so oblivious to it as well. And it really makes me think as well, like, one of those things, like, if you read a lot of the Rings, Tolkien is nowhere, but he's also everywhere. And that's one of the things I'm trying to imagine right now as well. It's like, I still don't see God everywhere. I don't feel him. But if I apply that same thinking, well, he's everywhere as well.
There's, in the movie, there's a scene with Pippin and Gandalf in Minas Tirith, where Pippin is afraid that this will be the end, and Gandalf. It's a beautiful scene in the movie where again, it's not in the book to my recollection, but Gandalf kind of smiles, and of course Gandalf has been to the end and back, and so then when I read someone like Steven Pinker say, well, people who have beliefs in afterlife don't care about this world, it's like, that's crazy talk. Gandalf fights as hard as anybody. In fact, the steward of Gondor abandoned ship, and Gandalf stands in the breach to defend Minas Tirith. And then in this moment when Pippin's like, oh, it's the end, there's nothing, and Gandalf's like, what do you mean there's nothing? Come on. But he still fights in the moment. And so, you know, it's no.
Yeah,
no.
when I read that tweet, that makes me think, like, it's really hard to love your neighbors sometimes. And it's like, because it almost feels like you can forgive people that are biased or ignorance, or even when they make mistakes and whatever, but like things like that, I really feel it's dishonest in a lot of ways, and it's on purpose, and that makes it even worse for me. It's like, especially now that I'm also getting interested in, like, before I agree and cheer them on, like, keep going, and now I'm like, please stop doing this, because this isn't it's helping nobody.
Yeah.
Like, what are you trying to achieve when you do something like that?
Yeah.
And that's why it also makes me quite sad, because, like I said, why are you trying to convince anybody? No, especially not in that way. Are you trying to? What's the goal here? Is it trying to hurt a group of people? Yeah, it makes me. Yeah, that really makes me mad sometimes. And like I said, then it's hard to keep thinking to yourselves to, like, love your neighbor. Like, how am I supposed to deal with something like that? How do I love my neighbor when they are like that in such a moment?
Yeah.
It's also one of the things I have to figure out. Like, I don't know yet.
Yeah.
At least try to.
Well, this is where Dallas Willard made an observation about the difference between training and trying, because you only, and it's the same difference between freedom from and freedom to. I don't have the freedom to run a 4-minute mile. I'm not in shape. I'm not that fast. If I wanted to have the freedom to run a 4-minute mile, I would need to enter training. And so a lot of the Christian life is, in fact, training, because we don't, I mean, the reading the Bible, the going to church, these are, it's so hard to describe, because they are ends in some ways, because as Jonathan Peugeot said in my conversation with him, he said, worship is relevance realization. I thought that's exactly right. But also it is also training for, it's because there are real good reasons not to love your neighbors when they're idiots and jerks and evil people. It's just real good reasons not to love them. But and then even developing the willingness to love these neighbors is one thing, and then developing the wisdom to know what loving a self-destruct, I mean, that's the deal with, you're dealing with an addict. how to love your neighbor who is an addict. That's really hard, because sometimes that might look like, all right, I'm going to help you clean up your vomit. Other times it might look like, no, I'm not giving you anything so that you can continue to drink. And other times it might look like, here, have a drink so you don't die on the couch right now. I mean, that's that kind of wisdom that you grow into by training. And it's just like, if you want to learn to run if you want to be able to run a 4-minute mile, the training isn't fun. Just like if you want to master anything difficult, the training isn't fun, but the rewards in it are immense.
Yeah, that's a good point. I haven't actually thought about it in that way. But like this is a perfect example, at least to apply that type of thinking to it. Yeah, and really makes me think now. Yeah, because you do find yourself in similar situations like all the time. It's like people say something to hurt you on purpose, or people do something or that you don't like. And in that moment, it's really easy to get emotional, to react, and to spit it all out. And that's definitely not loving your neighbor as yourself. Definitely not. Definitely. Ugh, I can't even speak anymore. Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the things I really have to take some time and think about it, because it's one of those new, and there's constantly new things coming up as well. Like I said, when I read a verse in Matthew and I think that isn't very inviting, or I read a tweet like that and I think, well, very, very difficult to love my neighbor right now. And it's like I run into those situations constantly, and then it's difficult again when you're alone and you don't have that community and you don't have someone at church to talk to. And like a conversation on the Discord can only go so far, and a YouTube video can only go so far. So yeah, that's difficult. Yeah, that's why also the second video of stories of all heroes' journey is like, why then I keep wondering, what's his goal with these videos? It's like, is he trying to convince other people as well that there's of his nihilism? I think that's the goal. Why else would you take such a huge amount of time and effort to say something like that? It's like, yeah, that really bugs me as well. And I think he definitely gets some things wrong as well. Okay, there was one subchapter where he spoke, I don't know, was it like cosmic purpose or divine purpose? Well, what do you know about it? Like, you don't even have a clue if there's anything like that. And that doesn't mean I have, but saying there isn't is worth as much as saying there is. Like, and that's also one of the things where I think it's a bit disingenuous to make arguments like that and not knowing anything about it. And like I said, it makes me also quite sad, because why do you keep bringing those things out? And it's like in all your other videos, it's full of meaning and purpose. Like he's been pointing it everywhere in those videos. He's pointing it out everywhere, and then
that's the shtick of his channel.
And then in your own life,
that's what blows me away by that.
Yeah, and he's really good at it. So
he's really good at it.
Yeah, so you wonder why. Are you that oblivious to he does have like a, I don't know, a sense for it, or a sensor that he can find the meaning in things and find the purpose in things, but somehow in his own life he can't find it, and not in the lives of his, perhaps of his family or his friends, and that's also quite a sad thought too.
Or he thinks he's just projecting meaning into them, which, well, that's sad too, because the minute, I mean, that makes it unreal at a level that leaves us really feeling abandoned.
Yeah, that's what you get when you project something. It's like, then it's already fake, let's say. Yeah, and then the thing is, like, so many people agree with it as well. Perhaps not consciously, but definitely unconsciously. And that's also something I've been really worrying about lately, because I know it myself as well. I've been going through years and years of nihilism and depression and whatnot. And when you've been through it, it's like you have that sensor as well, and you can pick it up in other people, and then you see it all around you, and it's terrifying, actually. Like, why are you getting up every day?
Yeah.
If it doesn't, if nothing makes sense at the end. Yeah. And that's why I think stories connect with us so well, because, like I said, I do think our lives are stories, and perhaps not like a grand narrative, but it's at least in some way, shape, or form, it is a story. And it's one of the things where, if I live my daily life, of course I don't see a story. Well, like last time when we had a conversation, obviously I was prepping like 2 or 3 weeks in advance, and then you're thinking about all the time you spent working on yourself and doing the things like Jordan Peterson suggests, and you're creating this own story of like a period of 2 years. And when you live in those days, you don't experience it as a story. And if you ask your friends and family, they don't experience your life as a story, or even their own life, because they've been there like every single day. And they see me go to work, they see me come home, they see me do whatever. But if you then get that eagle's eye view, and you look at the overall view, and you see the things that are like the grand themes that are happening, it's like, yeah, then your life is a story. Yeah. It's that difficult to see, especially not when you're analyzing stories as in this case, I don't know like what's his name is, but it's like you're analyzing stories every single day, and you can't see the story of your own life. And like I said, like that, the accumulation of things, it's like when I hear the nihilism, and I hear that he lacks that ability and the meaning of his own life, it's like, yeah, that's quite sad. Because that's one of the things I've also been experiencing now. It's like, well, obviously when you're depressed, is you're very self-centered, like you're very self-absorbed, and because it's your problems and your anxiety, and you're only focusing on your own things, because, oh, this worries me, or this will hurt me, or whatever. And so your entire world consists of you, and it's not like you're doing it on purpose, or you're doing it to, you do it to try to hurt other people or whatever, but it's just that mindset where you're in. And now that they've actually gotten over that depression, it's like, I can finally see what I can do for other people as well.
Yeah.
What other people can help me with, and it's like I'm not alone anymore.
Yeah.
And just that subtle shift of keeping in mind that somebody else as well, and like being less self-absorbed and a bit more hospitable to someone else. And that's also one of the things that I've only been experiencing like in the last year. And I also keep wondering, why is God helping me with this? And well, those first few months, you're like, well, no, it's all in my head. It's all. I'm cooking it up
It's
myself.
not only in your head.
No.
It is in your head, but
Yeah.
it's not only in your head.
No, but it manifests
Yes.
after a while, and
Yes,
that
it
manifests
does.
in real life, and then it's like,
Yeah.
well, now it's concrete and it's actionable. So what does that mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, those are the solo shifts I've been making the past year, and I can't keep wondering, like, is God helping me? Is God guiding me? So probably I'll end up believing, but yeah, just takes some more time. And like in the very beginning, I was very focused, like on setting a goal for myself. Like by this time, I need to at least be convinced by this, and by the end of the year, I need to, I don't know, reach this goal or that goal, or at least be able to believe it, because otherwise this journey or this effort, it didn't make sense and it isn't for me. But it's also one of the shifts I made where I realized, well, if I have that mindset, it actually pushes me back further than that it helps me advance. And letting go of that has been tremendously helpful. Like, don't forcing myself to believe, because then it doesn't help anyway. And that's when I see the most progress. It's like I'm leaning so far in that direction that I it's only a matter of time at this point. But then like I said, I still need to get over going to church and finding a community in that sense. And like you said in the beginning, it is one of those status things, and because you've been depressed for so long that you actually feel you didn't have any value to other people, and now also even at work or at school, whatever. And now that I've gone over it, and I'm like assertive at work, and people value me for the work I'm doing, and it's like, okay, now they value me, and I throw this out in the open. What will happen? Will people look at me differently?
Yeah.
Will people treat me differently in this, especially here in the Netherlands? We're a very post-Christian country.
Yeah.
Like we also have like a small Bible Belt, but like above and below, it's full-blown atheist.
Yeah.
Aside from a few older people, I really don't know anybody who's going to church, who's even religious.
Wow.
And not, yeah, well, obviously I grew up with a lot of Muslim kids, so, but like Christian, I mean, it's like, so you're also in this environment where nobody is interested in that same thing or willing to
Or at least
explore that.
admitting they are.
Yeah. Well, even like Jordan Peterson is, well, he was on TV over here, and he did I believe like 1 or 2 events in Amsterdam, but like in general, there's not a lot of people who know him.
Yeah.
I had one colleague at work who knew him, and he was mainly interested in like the political stuff, and he didn't watch the Bible series or anything.
Yeah.
And for the rest, nobody.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's also why the Discord is good, and because then you can also, here in the Netherlands, there's a few people who are interested in Jordan Peterson and religion. It's like, okay, I'm not the only one. I'm not that crazy. Yeah. So I was going somewhere with that, but I actually forgot. I don't know. Let me check my notes, because I wrote a lot of things down, obviously. Let's see. Oh yeah, and that's also one of those things, is like I said with the Tolkien reference, like he's nowhere but he's everywhere. The same, I think, with God. Like I don't see him, I don't feel him, but he's everywhere. And it's the same thing when I think about like consciousness or the mind. Like where does it enter into the system, and then it's like I can't imagine anything else but God. Like I don't see like any other option. Like the concept of emergence doesn't seem really plausible to me. And then it's like, yeah, well, where does it enter? And that's also one of the things why I can't help but think it's most likely it's God. And then, okay, what do I do with that right now? Yeah. Oh, my mind is all over the place.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Well, but I even, since the last time we
Oh, it's
talked,
really dark, I see. Oh,
what's that?
I saw my screen was really dark as well. I
Oh,
didn't
that's
notice
okay.
it.
I can see it fine. But I can really tell a difference in you from the last time we talked, via Zoom. Yeah, the depression, the nihilism, the angst. I mean, you're still, I mean, just probably by temperament, you'll always be an angsty person. It's just how some people are. Their temperaments, they're angsty, and but that angstiness keeps them moving forward. But you've gone forward since the last time, and again, I come back to the training versus trying. What's so interesting to me about the I looked up his name, Tom Vander Linden, like Stories of Old. What's interesting, you see, if you immerse yourself in that much meaning and that much story, you're going to need to do some powerful training to not basically get wooed and seduced by the story. And so I think that's partly where this series comes from. And again, I fully anticipate, because I posted on Twitter and he's on Twitter, and so we had a few brief exchanges, but I fully anticipate his third video will give the standard nihilist response to meaning, which is, we know that meaning isn't real, but it's something we can enjoy, which is sort of like the difference between pornography or prostitution and a wife. The wife is way more work, way more costly, way more meaningful, way more dangerous, but so much more potential for family, multi-generational story, so much more potential for glory in the wife than there is in the prostitute or the pornography. And that's what's really wrong with the nihilistic response to the meaning crisis. It's empty, and it will stay empty, because you begin, I mean, it's sort of like Jordan Peterson's observation about living with someone, where, so what you're saying to your partner is they're good enough to enjoy sexually, but not good enough to marry. Wow. Everyone wants to hear that.
Yeah.
So, but what you run into is, and this is, so the video I posted today, what you run into is a principality or a power which says, which basically creates the closet. And it's this social spirit that's out there that keeps you in the closet for legitimate fears and concerns, and making the timing and the desire of leaving that closet all the more important, because it's, and I know Job struggled with this, but I have the sense that Job at his firefighting gig was surrounded by Christians. So that's a very different thing than if you're, and at least his parents, so I think his parents raised him as a Christian until he was like 7 or 8 or something. So his parents had that. I mean, so everybody is different with these things, and you've got to figure it out, because rightly so, you want to be prepared, and that preparation is important. So
yeah, preparation might take a while for me, but
that's okay.
No, yeah, that's okay. And that's like, before like I said earlier, I set a goal, and I need to be prepared for this at this and this time. Whereas now, whenever I'm prepared, I'll tell them I don't doubt that, but I'm still not at that stage.
Well, goals are tools, but you can't make them masters.
No, and that's one of the issues. That's one of the issues I always had. It's like you set your goal, and then your goal becomes your tyrant.
Yeah.
Because you have to reach that goal, because otherwise you have to set a new goal and you have to reach that goal, and then it's like this self-destroying cyclus of, and it's only getting worse and worse and worse. And I still setting goals, but goals I know I can reach, and I don't set any time limits or say I need to do it within this amount of time. And the same thing, because with reading the Bible, like after our last conversation, I believe I read the Gospels in a week, which I'm not a fast reader at all, and I didn't understand them, but I did read them, so I could check that off my list, and I went on to the next thing. Like, and now I do things completely differently, and I make like I say to myself, okay, at least read a verse a day and go through it slowly and try to understand it, and then the approach is different, and also the result will be different, and the feeling you'll get will be different.
Yeah.
And that's when I notice, okay, I start again. It piques my interest again, and I want to keep exploring this. And it's like that's also a shift I had to make, because that's one of the things I experienced in the Jordan Peterson time period this year. It's like all those new revelations, and they're constantly there. And there's each week there's something new, and you can use that small thing, and you see actually a lot of improvement, especially when you're so depressed and anxious all the time. And you see, wow, I'm making really good progress. And then you're in that mode of constantly making progress, and keep making progress, and keep making progress. And like I said, then at some point he's gone, and you have to figure it out yourself, and you're in that mindset of, I have to keep making progress. Now I want to explore religion more, and you apply that same principle, and then suddenly it doesn't work anymore. And then it doesn't work for this, but it also don't work anymore for the other 10 things I'm supposed to do. And then that's when I hit that period, like somewhere in December, January, that period when I stopped completely. It's like I didn't watch any videos anymore, I didn't read anything, and I noticed I was getting back into my old habits. And that's when I knew, like, okay, now I do have to do something, because otherwise I'll end up where I started. And then I didn't make any progress at all.
Yeah.
If you end up where you actually started, and then
yeah.
What will happen then? Will I become nihilistic again?
Yeah.
Will I become depressed again?
Yeah.
And that's what you say. I am an angsty person, and that's one of those fears, and that keeps me moving. It's like I don't want to be that at all anymore, and I want to go to the top of the hill and see where the city of God is, and I know I'll most likely I will never reach it, but at least keep going towards there.
I'm not so sure you won't. I'm not sure you won't. I think you'll get there, because because and that's where, so you go back to, say, Matthew 13, and you have the parable of the soils, and you read that parable, and I think Jonathan Peugeot really laid that parable out nicely. I think that's one of his best videos. And but the thing is, you might say, well, I didn't hit these goals I set for myself. But again, I look at Jordan Peterson's, don't compare yourselves to others, compare yourselves to where you were. And when I can see now over 14 months, you've changed. I can see it. I can hear it.
Yeah, I did lose some weight, so that.
Well, that I didn't notice, but in terms of your voice, in terms of your perspective, you're not there yet. None of us are. Oh. But the thing is, I'm optimistic. So I am.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Because I wasn't for a very long time, especially not I wrote somewhere, I made notes in the beginning of my phone, and I said, well, I don't know if I'll ever reach that destination, but at least the journey doesn't make me a bad person.
No.
That was like the mindset I had back then.
Yeah.
But like the last few months, like I do want to reach that destination. I guess I don't want to be on a journey because I don't think that the journey by itself will. Well, it doesn't make me a bad person, but it doesn't make me. Then you'll never reach something that you. And that's also something that I don't want. I do want to get there eventually.
Well, so, and to go back then to the like stories of old in that video series, the implication of you are not a story and you are not a hero is you're not on a journey. And so life is, just randomness told by an idiot. And it's just one thing after. I mean, that's that whole, I used it Sunday with my sermon. That's that whole Macbeth speech. I mean, Shakespeare basically nails it right there and says,
yeah, that was a good video. Yeah.
There's a perspective. Okay, there it is. Is that the way the world is? If it is, well, then that has implications on how you should live. And somewhat what I hear van der Linden working on is, okay, Tom, what is it? Because if that's what there is, you sure picked a weird thing to make a career on YouTube out of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he did. So I saw something yesterday. His next video will come out, I believe, Sunday. It is.
Oh, really?
Yeah, next Sunday.
Oh, good. I've been waiting for it.
Yeah, me too. Because the last one was 2 weeks ago, I believe.
Yeah.
Like I rewatched them today, and then like the first two like quick after each other, but then you're waiting for the final one.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm curious to see what you'll end up saying, but like you said, it'll probably be a nihilistic message.
And again, it completely surprised me because he's a master at this. I mean, his channel is so good.
Yeah.
And then I saw Story versus Reality. Oh, and I saw You Are Not a Hero. I thought, oh, this is going to be interesting. And he laid out in so many ways the history of secularism right there in sort of a reversal. And I thought, he sees all the pieces. It's like, dude, give your nihilism up already. Step over the line. Because here's the crazy thing. If you're really a nihilist, there's no reason to keep thinking like one because it feels so crappy. I mean, what sick sense of pride do you have maintaining your nihilism? It makes no sense. I mean, that's where I come from.
No, it doesn't.
I look at it and I say, okay, let's say you're right. Why should I live like that? Why not throw myself into the hero's journey and live like that? Why not LARP all the way to the grave? It's a whole lot more fun. And if you're a nihilist, it doesn't matter. So have at it.
And you're also demotivating other people in the process.
Yeah.
People who might have just started the hero's journey.
Yeah.
And so what did you achieve?
Yeah.
It's like you actually made things a whole lot worse than they were before.
Yeah. All along saying there's nothing to achieve. Well, Where is it? That then just can get sick, because now you're just a troll. Now you're enjoying the suffering of others. Well, when I watch this video, I don't get the sense that that's the person he is. I really doubt that's the person he is. Most people aren't like that, thank God. But that's where that path goes. I don't want to have anything to do with it.
No, me neither. So I see we are at time already.
Yeah, but it was so good to talk to you, Dennis. I'm so glad you found a slot. And
yeah, I've been checking regularly. So then when I saw the one for today, it's like, did I see that correctly? Like, quick, I need to be quick before somebody else scoops it up.
It's just a matter of me figuring out how to keep all of my plates spinning. So I try to keep
it's difficult, especially the Discord is growing.
Yeah.
And there's new members almost every day, and then everybody wants to have a conversation with you, and then especially if they had one conversation, you want to have the second conversation because you didn't get to say everything in the first conversation. It's like there's just not enough time. But that's why the Discord is also helpful, is because people are talking to each other, and then the need to, it's not that people don't want to speak to you, but then the need to say something, they can do it with someone else.
Yeah. And again, you know, the irony of my YouTube life is that on the internet, I'm a very busy man in demand. In Sacramento, no. Homeless people, you sit with a homeless person, you know, any rando that walks in the door at Living Stones. People at Living Stones aren't lined up to talk to me.
No, but on the YouTube, we're very productive. Like I really can't keep up. Like I was almost up to date, and then there was another video yesterday, and then one today, and I saw it's like 2.5 hours. I'm like,
yeah,
I don't have the time anymore.
It's like everything. They speed up, they slow down. There's seasons for lots of things. So
no, but definitely also your videos, like they've been tremendously helpful just in understanding like some core principles and about the sacrament and things like that. It's like never heard of that stuff before, and then it's like, well, it's actually super interesting, and that's a good thing. And it'll always be available. And you can always go back and check it.
That's right.
And then same with the conversations.
Yep.
I go back and watch them when there's a lot of good ones.
Yeah.
So
that's true. Well,
I'm
Dennis,
grateful for that. Yeah.
Great chatting with you this way. I'll see you on the Discord.
Yeah.
And
thank you, Paul.
Yeah, just keep doing what you're doing. You're getting there.
Yeah, I will. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.